today's vlog, we're gonna do something a little bit different, something we haven't done. We're gonna show you a recipe to how to make homemade yeast rolls. I have everything pre-measured out so you guys can see it. I have my shortening, a half a cup of sugar, my kosher salt, 3 tablespoons of active yeast, a tablespoon of sugar, a tablespoon of salt, a half a cup of vegetable oil, some softened butter here, and I have 3 cups of warm water, 9 to 10 cups of flour here, and I also reserve maybe like a half a cup of flour just in case I need more. Now, a large bowl, like I said, we're going to take 9 to 10 cups of flour. Make sure you have a big enough bowl so when you're working in it, you're not cheating yourself out of space. You don't want it too wet, you don't want it too dry. So I'm going to put a half a cup of sugar, a tablespoon of salt, and I'm just going to mix those dry ingredients. For my yeast, I'm going to add my 3 tablespoons of active yeast to that, a tablespoon of sugar, grated really well. Make sure that all that yeast is all incorporated really well. It might clump up when it hits the water, but eventually it'll begin to dissolve. And I'm gonna let this sit here until it doubles in size. So you're gonna wait until it gets to about that point, maybe like 8 to 9 minutes. It shouldn't take that long. After I mix the dry ingredients together, I'm still gonna wait till the yeast doubles in size before I add the wet ingredients to the dry. So that took about 8 to 9 minutes to, I said double in size, so it's really more like triple in size. So I'm gonna go ahead and pour this in. You might want to get a spatula to make sure you get all of that yeast into your dry mixture. And then we're going to add the 3 cups of warm water and the half cup of your vegetable oil. This is a cup and a half that I'm adding there. And then an additional cup and a half. And then half a cup of your vegetable oil. You want to get a really good, sturdy wooden spoon for this part. You want to make sure it's mixed very well. And I saved that half a cup of flour just so I can add it to this mixture. If it's too wet, add a little at a time. At this point, this is where that half a cup of flour comes in. Make sure that it's fully incorporated. I'm gonna get my hands in there, then I'm gonna knead it just a little bit. You don't want to over mix it because it feels really good. I put about 9.5 cups of flour, so I'm just gonna add just very little to the dough mixture. It feels a little wet to me, so I'm just gonna add a little bit to it. I don't probably knead it that much, probably like for 3 or 4 minutes, and then I'm gonna let it just rest. Just a little. So I'm gonna let this sit for about 30 minutes, just so it can rise just a little bit. Just put a light towel over it and just let it sit for 30 minutes. So this resting process for 30 minutes, I preheated the oven here on 375. That's what I'm actually gonna bake the rolls on. So just to help this rise just a little bit and rest, I put it on top of the stove just to get that indirect heat, just to help it rise ever so slightly. That's to help my rising process just for the first 30 minutes, and then we're gonna go back and knead it and then let it rest again. So I removed this off of the stove. It's been 30 minutes, and this is what it looks like after 30 minutes. And I'm gonna do the final process of kneading it. This is the final kneading process. You don't want to over knead it. You just want to make sure everything is kind of incorporated, and let it rest back on the stove for about an hour and a half to 2 hours so it can poof up fully, and then you can start portioning out your rolls. So I did the final kneading process. I went ahead and used the last bit of that flour. So at the end of this process, I eventually will use about 10 cups. So I actually gradually added it to the dough mixture just so it's not dry, but you don't want it super wet. You want to have a nice feel to it. So I'm gonna cover it back up and I'll put it back on the stove for about an hour and a half to 2 hours. So it's been about an hour and 50 minutes that I had it rising in this bowl, sitting on top of the stove. So it's gonna be similar to this when it's done, about an hour and 50 minutes. So what you're gonna do now is you're gonna begin to make your rolls. I'll just show you exactly how you wanna do it. I'm gonna start making my rolls. So what I'm gonna do is have a really good non-stick sheet pan, and I'm gonna liberally put shortening on this pan right here with my hands. Make sure your hands are nice and clean, and I'm just going to liberally put shortening all over this pan right here. And I'm going to come back to my dough, and if it feels sticky at all, I'm going to add a little bit of flour in those spots where it's a little sticky. I just want it to be nice and pliable when I start making my actual rolls. This is the technique that I use to make rolls. You can make them however big you want it or however small you want them to be. So I always put shortening on my hands. My hands are really, really coated so that my hands aren't sticking to the actual dough. I just grab maybe about that much dough. You do grab about a golf ball size, and I just twist them like that, and I just tuck it under. Just begin to place them right there on my pan like that. This batch will probably make about 20 to 24. You're gonna have some dough left over. So now that I have them all rolled out, I'm gonna put some really softened butter on top of them. I'm just gonna brush each individual one. And then I'm gonna come with this kosher salt. And then I'm gonna sprinkle just a little bit of kosher salt on the top of that butter. Go ahead and set this on top of the stove for about 20 to 25 minutes to let it rise up. It's risen quite a bit now. So I have my oven set at 375. Depending on how hot your oven gets, you might want to adjust it accordingly. But I have mine on 375, and I'm gonna put it on 20 minutes just to see where it's at. And you're gonna want it to be just a golden brown, just so that it can stay nice and moist. video. Please try this recipe and let me know how you like it. If there's any other recipes that you'd like me to try, just leave me a comment down below, and we'll see you guys next time.